So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the AniMates show, the show for animators by animators. We're so happy you can join us here today. I can hear myself twice. One sec. Goodbye, Twitch. And I'm your host, Elise, and here today we have our first off-tangent interview, which is a one-on-one interview with animators in the industry. And I think what's really important about these things is that if you want to learn how to be successful at something, you can model it off someone who's already had success. So that's why we want to talk to these people that have obviously been successful already and find out how they've done it. So, Sedona, you're very talented, and you're currently working as a junior animator at Ubisoft. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're working now and where you've worked before?
Oh, boys. Hi. So my name's Sedona Parnham. I'm a Canadian animator, 3D animator, based in Toronto. I have been in the industry for 3 years, two of those 3 years being, and then is at Ubisoft.
I think we're getting some internet problems. Let me just check. Yeah, sorry. Could you say that again? I think
Okay.
it got cut out.
Okay, sweet. Hi, I'm Sedona. I am a 3D animator in Toronto. I for 3 years, 2 years in TV and 1 year in games. So I primarily work with Maya and motion. What else should I say? I don't know what else.
What are the companies you worked at before you got to Ubisoft?
Oh, so before Ubisoft, I was at two studios. I was at Arc Productions for a year, and then I was at Snowball Studios for a year. Mm-hmm. And now I'm at UB, and yeah.
And did you go to university, or were you one of the people that did one of the online courses, or were you self-taught?
I went to school for 6 years, 4 years for a game development and entrepreneurship course, which I'll elaborate on later. And then I went back to school and studied 2 years of 3D animation before I ran out of money and had to just kind of dive headfirst into the industry. And I've been very lucky. Oh yeah. I've been very lucky, all things considered. Like it was a bit of a stumbling head start into my career, and I was a couple years later than I wanted to be, but nah.
So one thing that I really love about your reel, which we can't show because we'll get blocked on YouTube, but I can link it in a bit, is that all your animations have this kind of this realistic performance and this kind of very appealing nature to them. They all feel very real. Would you say that that's something that is like important to you when you're animating? Is creating like that believable performance?
I think what was interesting was coming out of college and being thrown onto Trollhunters. I actually wasn't someone who was good at anything remotely realistic. So yeah, for context, guys, I graduated university or college, and I grabbed a job, and I had no idea what I was going to go on, but I was thrown on this project called Arcadia, and it was real. I had no idea what it was, and I was just thrown into this basement, and they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna be working on a Guillermo del Toro TV show," and so junior me is like imploding internally. I lost my shit. I was so excited. But this, as a first TV show, it was way more, how do I put it? Way more intense than the average television show, because it was actually, it was a really, as I learned later on, a really interesting in between for like feature animation and TV animation. Like they were really, really nitpicky, and they were actually making me tone a lot of my animation down because I was doing a lot of very stylized post to post stuff. So for me it was just experiencing, it was I had to work with what the show did. So I had to learn very quickly to not
Oh, I think our
stylize.
internet's died. What was that last thing you
Uh-oh.
said? Sorry. The internet's being a bit flaky on us, guys. Sorry about that.
Do you know what part I cut out at?
Just the very last couple words.
Oh, basically, yeah, just I had to learn very quickly to not be stylized on Trollhunters. There was a demand for subtlety and realism, and it's something you don't really see on a lot of other TV shows.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I should mention my reel is 2 years old because there's really nothing that's compared to having Trollhunters on my reel that I think I can safely put on.
Yeah. So did you
So,
find like obviously being in that environment sounds really tough. Having that kind of critique sounds like you had to learn very quickly how to get your quality bar up and also how to change the style. And I feel like that's something that a lot of juniors have to deal with when they get in the industry, going from uni to in a professional environment. It's that there's usually that big kind of shock of, oh, this is actually what it's going to be like. Do you feel
yeah.
like your skills really improved a lot when in like those first couple months or
Oh God, yes. Uh, no, getting into the industry is where I truly started learning, in my opinion.
hmm
College gives you the basics, but when you are actually thrown into doing stuff and it's like you have this long to make this shot, that's a completely different situation. Troll Hunters was kind of cool because we had months to make shots work as opposed to weeks, for the time that we were on it. Um, and so there was a lot more that they could be nitpicky about.
Right.
Uh,
Did you
yeah,
find there was a big difference between that and working in a game studio? That there was like a lot more demand for things being kind of precise or
yeah, and again, that feels more like an apples to oranges situation because the thing that I am doing games wise is very different from working in TV at all.
hmm
Um, and again, I don't know how much I can get into that, but I can safely say it's nothing like TV. So, yeah.
Awesome, yeah. So, do you remember what it was that first got you interested in animation? Was that like a moment where you were like, "This is the career for me"?
Funny enough, I always really, really liked watching animated shows,
Yeah.
growing up. I also I had very strict parents, funny enough. Um, I was not allowed to do a lot of things that other kids were able to do. I had no video games in my house at all, none, until I was about 16 years old, and we managed to beg for an Xbox 360. And TV wise, I only could watch TV on weekends, like Friday and Saturday, and like Sunday morning and afternoon, but not in the evening. And that meant whatever like whatever was on, like I wasn't necessarily watching that. Like so I didn't know any concept of Degrassi or the OC. Like that wasn't on TV on weekends, and I had basic cable too. So there was stuff that I never really got to experience.
Yeah.
And so most of the time when I would come home and my parents weren't home yet, I would just sit down and watch YTV. Uh, it's a Toronto-based television program for kids for
Okay.
people not in Canada. Um, and it had all of the shows. It had Sailor Moon, it had Batman Beyond, it had Mummies Alive and Gargoyles, like all of these things that
Some really
ended
good
up
shows.
having a huge impact on me. Um, and yeah, I was like and when I started to get into anime, I really got into anime.
Sure.
um, but I didn't decide I was going into animation. Well, till oh God, I don't actually think I chose to go on the path of animation until actually around university,
Really.
when I actually started. Yeah, um, I wanted to be a concept artist. And before that, I wanted to do something like meteorology based, so very,
Uh huh.
very different. Um, but like, I definitely recall having like appreciating stuff that was animated well when I was young. but it wasn't something I really got to sink my teeth into until I was a lot older. So, yeah.
That's really interesting. So you said you were initially inspired by the kind of all the shows that I heard you say were kind of 2D based. Was
Oh yeah. Well,
there?
there wasn't a lot of 3D shows back then. There was
That's true.
Reboot,
That's
there
definitely
was
true.
Machines, and that was really cool. It's not very well animated, but you can't blame them because they were and they didn't have curve controls like we do now. Like they were just like full on FK and being like, this needs to rotate the X-axis locally, and that's how they animated Reboot.
Yeah. But like when you got older, did you and you kind of were like, oh, this animation thing seems cool. Was there a part of you that initially wanted to go to 2D, or did you always kind of want to do 3D?
I definitely animation course or something at Sheridan is a Canadian animation college. Well, it's not just it's a college, but they were really famous for a lot of the students that they had come out of there,
Mm-hmm.
and they went on to do some really cool stuff. And I really wanted to go and study there because I wanted to strengthen my art skills because I
Yeah.
hadn't been getting a lot of practice, and most of my teaching actually comes from like everything I at least know I've learned from like doing like little fan comics and stuff was from my friend Linda Shage, who is a comic book artist for Top Cow. She and her husband are both really skilled artists, and I mostly learned from them. I didn't get that formal training, and so I wanted to go to like OCAD or I wanted to go to Sheridan,
Yeah.
and I didn't. But there was also this push to go to a university
Sure.
that was being drilled into us at the time,
Yeah.
and a lot of these are technically colleges, and it was so much money just to like sign up to
Yeah.
go to a like a just to apply was like a lot of money for
Oh.
17-year-old me.
You have
So
to wait. Sorry, you have to pay money to
yeah, you have to.
apply to
Mhm.
universities. Oof.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
So like it's like I forget how much it was. It was like $60 to apply for like three
Okay.
different places. But for a teenager, that's like, ugh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Then you start paying loans and you realize that that was nothing.
Sure.
So
So you said that your parents were pretty strict. So, but you are
mm,
obviously a very creative person. Was someone in your family very creative?
yes, I definitely get my creative, at the very least, my visual art skills from my mother's side.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother used to do oil painting and she was an architect.
That's cool.
And her paintings were really pretty. Um, and I don't like I don't know, she was just so absolutely skilled at everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a very cool lady. She passed this last year, but she had like we were when we had her funeral, like we got like photos of a bunch of her oil paintings that she had done and
Wow.
just like really proud. Like she was really good. And yeah, so I think I got it from that side of the family. I always loved the drawings and the painting and the reason I started doing digital stuff is because I managed to. My parents were like, "Oh, this is way less messy than getting
Sure.
her supplies.
Get
So
you
let's
off the
just give her
kitchen
the
table
info
into a
storage
room.
tablet." Yeah, but yes, no, my parents were like they definitely wanted the best for me, but a lot of the things that they denied me kind of backfired on them very hard. So, because I always wanted to play video games and I wasn't allowed, and now I'm making them for a living, and also like the TV, I'm like I animated on TV shows, and like I just bam right into the entertainment industry.
So your parents weren't like wholly supportive of you being an animator, you think?
They wanted me to have a job that was good.
Uh huh.
Um, and so when I looked into this tech school, UOIT, which is short for the University of Ontario Institute of Technology, they had this game dev course. It was super well rounded, and so there was art, and there was programming, and there was business, and it's like for you to start your own company, and that would, and I was still not sure about it, and my dad somehow persuaded me. He's like, you should go here because here you'll be seen as a as like a valuable artist because the kids here clearly don't know that much about art. And I should have been thinking at the time, I should be going to a place where I am the worst artist so that I can become
Sure.
not the worst artist. But like, again, 17-year-old me who's like freaking out about trying to find an ideal school to get a good
Like,
degree.
okay, sounds good.
And I didn't know, like, my parents weren't any wiser to the concept either that you, for going to school, you, at least to get into animation, you need a portfolio. Like they want to see what you can do, not where you got your degree.
Yeah,
Because a degree and a diploma mean jack shit to a lot of animation industries that at least that I've seen. Like they'll be like, "Oh, where did you go to school?" Like there's definitely like some educational background, but if you can't animate still, if your
mm.
reel is still bad, you're
Even if
not
you
gonna.
got the best degree at the best
Yeah,
school, if you are actually a terrible animator, which I don't know how that would work, but yeah, no,
the
then it
degree will
doesn't mean
get you
anything.
nowhere.
Yeah,
And I've seen kids pass for the sake of just getting them out of there so
sure.
they can get someone good in the slot.
Wow.
I remember I remember someone in college being really pissed that this guy was like graduating alongside them because he didn't deserve it. I was like, it's fine. It won't matter in the long run. If he can't do anything and he's clearly not a good animator, then like he's not going to find work.
Yeah.
They had their reasons. Don't worry. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting because I feel like in a lot of professions you get this advice where it's like a degree is a degree is a degree, and if you go to this college or this college or this college, it's all the same. Whereas I feel like that is super not true in animation. Especially, I was talking to someone about this a year ago, and he was saying that because a lot of people want to do video games and want to do media based things, you'll get a lot of colleges not putting a lot of effort into making the courses, but just having the course there because they know people will sign up for it and pay them a fair amount of money, even if they're not necessarily getting taught a lot. And also because I think the behind the scenes stuff that gets shown is kind of more of a new thing, especially for video games.
Hmm.
People don't necessarily know what the skills are that they need until they're already so far already into the course. So I think like exactly what you said. It's really important that you do your research of what college you're going to and what you get out of it and how many of those students are actually hired within the creative industry. Because I remember also talking to one of the lecturers about this, and they were saying. Oh, this like one college was boasting, oh yeah, we have an animation program and we have like an 80% successful hiring rate or something. But that was not hiring within the industry. That was, oh,
Yeah.
someone got a job at Tesco's. Oh, technically they're hired, right?
Yeah.
And it was like within the
Yep.
next 2 years after the uni. So yeah, most people are going to find a job somewhere, so you definitely do have to be a little bit careful. Did you
Yeah.
have some lessons that you think your parents taught you that helped you get you where you are today?
Um, Definitely one's about responsibility. Things like that. Like I feel like I've always been a hard worker, or at least that has been drilled into me.
Yeah.
Um, I'm lucky because I I've definitely always been someone who needs to be stimulated mentally. Like I need to be learning something, and this industry is really, really wonderful for that.
Yeah, that's true.
And if I am having a dead day, I'll just go and I just have like educational channels up on my YouTube feed. And I've got like number file, even though I don't really study math at all. And I study like I'll listen to Smarter every day, and I'll listen to cooking shows, like anything where I can just have something where I'm learning something. That is at least something that I've always enjoyed. But for what my parents, man, if they see this, they're gonna be really pissed at me. um, but yeah, like they raised me well enough, I guess is really all I can say. It's really hard to say in regards to my career because I know so little about my career.
Yeah.
Um, and like I remember my dad asking me, he's like, is animation just like, is it a thing where you keep learning, or is it like you know everything and now
Yeah.
you just do the thing? said, no, it's definitely the learning part. And my dad would ask, why do you need hundreds upon hundreds of people to make a game like Assassin's Creed? I said, Dad, you should go play Assassin's Creed and find out. Because like you don't realize how big these things are.
Yeah.
And like my mom thought that Frozen was painted, like not 3D. She thought it was hand painted. So
Yeah.
like there's definitely like a lack of understanding with where the technology's gone and how my industry works.
Yeah.
But my mom was definitely someone who probably would have loved to go into a creative field like me. It's just it was the 70s and it
Yeah.
was awful.
That's quite interesting, right? Because it's like yeah, I feel like you've inherited all of the kind of passion for doing something creative and learning and working hard at something. It's just a specifically your generation thing that is now possible and more accessible because of the internet, because of how much video games have progressed, because of where TV's at now and all that kind of thing. You know, that you just couldn't do a generation or two ago. So that I think that's really cool. So like just going back to university again for a bit, because you did go. How did you find it? Like when you were there, did you enjoy it? Did you think it was worth going? If you could go back now, would you have done something different, or do you think it was definitely the right move for you?
My parents heavily disagree with me, but I probably would not have gone. If I had the chance to repeat, I would have probably not gone to UOIT. Like I made some really wonderful friends there, and I'm very happy for that. Um, but I also have experienced like, how do I put it? It was a school that advertised itself as well-rounded and very much was not.
Okay.
Um, the art course was so lacking at the time that I became the teaching assistant for graphic design, like the intro to Photoshop class, while I was still in undergrad, and I held that position for 4 years.
Mhm.
When I went, I would attend the Montreal International Games Summit every year, and I was really excited because the fourth year I was going to go for the job fair. I had my portfolio, and it was whatever art I could do in my spare time,
Yeah.
basically. Like none of the projects that I was doing really did much like and I couldn't compare myself to anyone else, like any other artists or anything along those lines. And it's kind of when I realized I'm like, oh, I am screwed
Yeah.
and I need to go back to school. And I was lucky enough, I ended up when I was at that conference, there's an animator who was there and she'd been doing panels, and I you may know of her. Her name is Samantha Youssef. She is formerly a Disney animator, and she ended up working for Ubisoft for a bit, and then she just kind of developed a business where she just goes to different game studios and teaches animation there to
Oh,
like
that's cool.
strengthen animation teams that are working there who may not have any formal experience with like traditional animation and life drawing and stuff. And so I ended up talking to her and I said, like, I don't know what to do. Like, would it be a good idea for me to go back? Like, I think I'm screwed. And she said, yeah, no, just consider it. So, like, it might be actually be a really good idea for you. And so I decided I was going to go back to school. And I was more limited in that case because there wasn't many places I could go and I already had the TA position.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to a college on the same campus that had an animation course.
Right.
And they had some actually really good teachers there. Isabelle Baudouin is one of them. She was on An American Tale and she was on Balto. She was the lead 3D animator on Balto, actually.
Oh, very nice.
Then went on to work in games. She works on like Dynasty Warriors and things like that. And she was so good. She was amazing. I had Richard Pace teaching me intro to life drawing and anatomy and stuff, and he's this like tough as nails crass bastard of an art teacher. He does comic books for a living. And then Peter Hideki, who is actually one of Sheridan's first ever graduates, and he was really good when he got into like treating you like you were one of his animators and he was
Mhm.
your
Mm.
he would critique you really nicely. So that's where I felt I really took off. I had a bit of technical experience working with Maya and Photoshop and stuff from before, but that college is that college is where I was kind of like okay, yeah, this is definitely what I want to be doing, and this is where I want to go. And then it was me narrowing down the 3D generalist thing to just animation because one, I was running out of money at that point because UOIT was one of the most expensive tuitions in the province. I am still paying that debt off, and it's going to be another 4.5 years of, yeah. I was $80,000 in debt when I left, and that's in Canada,
Yeah.
unheard of. So
Yeah.
yeah, I tried to finish in my second year of college and jumped out and found a job like as soon as I could. And
Yeah.
animation is the only thing that didn't blow up in my face project wise.
But that, I think that that takes real courage to actually get to the point where you're like, you know what, I need more school. This is just something I need to do. Like that is super courageous. That's amazing. What I heard that I thought was really cool is you said, when I went to one of these animation conferences, that's when I figured out that I was not at the level that I needed to be. Do you think that's something animators in the industry and out of the industry should be doing more of?
Conferences are really tough because they have a really big paywall, which is very hard for students.
Yeah,
GDC is like
it's a lot for
GDC is
students.
barely affordable for professionals.
Yeah.
And there are conferences, and I recommend if you can find some conferences that are within your pay range and you can like go, like they are a blast and you get to meet a lot of really cool people, you get to do a lot of networking. Um, but yeah, it going to MIGS and realizing that my reel was not going to get me anywhere was very eye-opening, but like not in a not in like a bad way. It was just me going, oh, like it was good to get a feel for where I needed to be, um, just professionally before I was going to be taken even remotely seriously as a potential hire. And again, that was back when I was in university. I thought I was going to go do concept art,
Yeah.
except I didn't go to a freaking concept art school like an idiot. So yeah,
Do you think there's something that you didn't learn at university that you wish you'd have been taught?
art.
That's quite a broad one.
No, like just it had a non-existent art class. It was very much a tech school, and the dean of the faculty didn't want it to have any more art, or else it would become too college-y.
Okay.
They Okay. they took great pride in the fact that they were a tech school and they wanted to remain a tech school,
Sure.
and that it was a screw up on my part. Um, it was I was primarily self-taught all through university. And like a lot of my experience in learning Photoshop also came from teaching all of the students Photoshop, which I didn't even get the opportunity to have because we had some very subpar teachers when I first started. So,
Oh, I did forget to mention if anyone did have any questions for Sedona at about 5 o'clock, we'll be going through if there are any. Just write question in bold and whatever your question is, and we'll have a look at the end. That's such a great story. When you were trying to teach yourself, you realized that the college wasn't giving you what you needed. What kind of like resources did you go and find that you found really helpful for teaching yourself?
honestly, it was when I started being the teaching assistant for the Intro to Photoshop course at the university. They finally got a competent Photoshop professor when I was there. So I would go and I would sit in on his lectures at like 8 in the morning, and then I would try to build my tutorials around them the first year. And I was really clumsy about it because I never had to use vectors before, and like, there was so much that I wasn't aware Photoshop was capable of. And so then when I finally went like a couple years in, like I think after a year, I had like a solid set of slideshows where I was like, yes, this is a good intro to Photoshop class. And yeah, that's where I ended up for 4 years, just teaching first year students what I
Best
could.
way to learn, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Teach.
No, teaching is an amazing way to learn. And I really, really like it. But
So I wanted to ask, like, if it's like not too private, like what a normal schedule for you is like. Like, what is your normal day to day like? If you could just run us through what like a typical day in the life of Sedona is like. what kind of things go on, do you think?
Well, is that fair? I have a normal 9 to 5 job now.
Is it
Um,
fair? It's whatever it is.
um,
So.
well, yeah, it's very different from what it used to be, which
Mm.
is why it's like hard to say. But for me, it's been get woken up by this shithead. Um, Potentially have to feed him if my roommate's not
So
home.
that's like what
Um,
time?
6:30,
Yeah.
sometimes 5:30 if he's feeling extra peckish.
Okay.
So like yeah, get ready to go. Take the subway to work. Um,
So you get
like
in around.
update all my programs at work that need to be updated and
Sure.
synced up with the rest of the studio. Maybe get a coffee. Wane off the coffee because the coffee's giving you anxiety, but it tastes so good. Um, and then like catch up with coworkers. Do whatever tasks I have in store for me.
And you're usually
Um,
9 to 5 every day, you think?
yeah, I try to pull an 8:30 to 6:30. I like being in earlier personally.
Yeah.
I'm an early bird and I'm definitely better in the summer, but uh like in comparison, actually, I meant to bring that notebook out last time. Kimberly, where did you put my book? Did you eat it? Where did that notebook go? Crap. I was gonna show you guys the note, like actual animation notes that I had from Trollhunters, and I have to figure out where I put it down because I think it would be really cool to show. Because for that, it was like I would go in and I get to work and I check what notes I did have that got kicked back to me,
Yeah.
and I go through all of them and I ask questions to my coworkers and to my leads and like how do I go about this and um yeah, then I normally like after a day, be it an 8, a 10, or a 12-hour day, I would haul ass home, do whatever. I would do a bit of gaming. I mostly like drawing in my spare time. I
Mhm.
really want to know where I lost my book. Um, and then yeah, oh no, no, it's not there. Sorry.
We can put a
And then
picture of it on Twitter maybe afterwards
yeah,
if not.
I'll try to find it. I just really wanted to show that like full page spread of just
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah. It was just
Because I
like
thought
frame this,
it was
do
so
that, frame
different.
that, do
Yeah.
this.
Um,
Du-du-du-du-du-du.
yeah, it was like a just hand, like pinky being like just weird things like that.
Yeah.
Um, and again, it's so weird. Like a day in games animation is sometimes so different from a day in like TV animation or movie animation, where I've seen like at least like again, I would call Trollhunters feature light, but it was that come in, do your shots, like do what notes you can, check your deadlines, make sure you can pace yourself accordingly. Um, don't overdo it. Take frequent walks. Like get away from your computer as often as you can. Like just to keep yourself not burning out.
Mm.
And just like take a breather when you need to take a breather if you find yourself stuck. At ARC, it was like eat dinner at work, like
Mm.
get the catering because we're on overtime all the time.
Mm.
Stay until, but we're here at Ubisoft. It's like oh, like go home, make dinner, and yeah, stuff like that. So
And how
yeah,
much like personal work do you think you do nowadays? Like in a week? How much like
personal stuff,
animation?
personal animation less than I probably should be doing. I've
Which is
mostly
what?
been drawing lately. I really love like painting digitally in Photoshop. I have this really lovely Cintiq 22 HD,
It's
and
pretty
it is
nice.
my baby. I love it so much. It's so good. But like I have other projects I do in my spare time. I'm working on like a visual novel puzzle game with a friend of mine, and I'm finishing up sprites for that, wrapping up. Most of the game is out, but like, and if anyone wants to play it, it's called Exit Corners. It's up on Congregate. Um, but yeah,
So like how
I
many hours like a week or a month do you think you spend doing like something that's like a project? So something that could be considered self-development. Like it's not playing video games, it's not watching TV, it's like doing
I
something productive, like
a
drawing
lot.
or Yeah?
A lot. I do a lot of drawing,
Like
and I
what
do a lot of
percentage of your
voiceover.
free time is roughly?
I can't math today, I'm sorry. Um, at least like 2 to 3 hours a night
Mm-hmm.
goes towards painting,
Yeah.
like just visual painting and drawing and whatever. Um, I'm trying to do it more. There's a lot of things I need to improve on because I really do like drawing and painting too, and it's like a secondary hobby essentially. It's
Yeah.
it's something I've always been passionate about, and I've definitely been drawing longer than I've been animating,
Mm.
but I still love it, and I think having like practicing with drawing still gets makes me stronger at animating
Yeah.
too. It's I get like I have a field day painting expressions and micro expressions, and I really enjoy putting those on characters when I'm animating.
Yeah.
So
Do you think that it's important for people to be doing personal work? Like, some people say that, it's more than enough just to do your 9 to 5, and that is more than enough of what you need to progress. Do you think that that's true, or do you think that to be like a competitive animator in the industry, you have to be putting in some extra work, kind of?
I think it depends on the person.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people that can do it with just the 9 to 5, and there's some people that may want or need to do some extra stuff if they really want to push themselves and get somewhere they want to get. Oh, we also have a question. Should we? That's going to wait until 5 o'clock, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, I saw it in passing. My bad.
That's okay.
Um, but yeah, like for me, I definitely personally enjoy, but like the creative stuff I'm doing is not necessarily animation. I definitely need breaks from animation,
Yeah.
but having something that you can call your own just to get like to remain
Yeah.
like stimulated and feel
Yeah.
good. I yeah, that's at
Like doing
least
the work at home makes you better at work because you get to do the stuff that you want to do and then put,
yeah.
yeah, I see exactly what you
You
mean.
need to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And I've been doing my darndest too. And I think I mentioned like in the last thing, like I would always have like a sanity piece that I would focus on during university and in college. I would just have something that I would have on the side that I could just jump over and work on when I'm
Just do
feeling
a
really
bit,
stressed.
yeah.
And that was nice.
So on the days that you don't want to do like project work, do you have techniques and ways that you motivate yourselves to do it and get yourself to do it, or do you just say, you know what, I'm not feeling it today, so I'm just not?
Mostly the latter. I
Mm-hmm.
like going and gaming when I'm not feeling up to art. I need like if I overdo something I like, I'll go do something else I like. But
Yeah.
my loves have priorities. So like I'll play Beat Saber or I'll play Overwatch or um like go out for a walk.
Yeah.
There's like the area that I live in is really nice and there's a good cafe nearby and it's yeah. There's definite like I'm different. Like I know that my one coworker is much more he leans more towards likes animating in his spare time because the animation he's currently doing isn't what he's used to.
Yeah.
So there's so many ways you can approach it. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think there's just what's right or wrong for you.
Yeah. Something else that I found really interesting is you said that at work it was really important for you to go and take a walk whenever you can. And that I think is something that's really interesting because I think that's one of the things I personally also learned when I went from being a student to being a professional. Because I think like when you're a student, you also have that like as much as you think you're working 24/7. I mean, you probably are, but I feel like there's this thing of you have to be like chained to your desk, and if you get up, then you're wasting time or something. And I think that at work it becomes, oh, if I want to get the best quality work done, I need to step away from my computer and come back to get my fresh eyes on it. So I thought that was really interesting that you said that, and that like when
Yeah.
you try and just reset, you just like, I just need to go away for a walk for a bit. And
There's a lot of people at my job who justify the walk by getting coffee.
mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, "Oh, I'm doing it so that I'm more awake," as opposed to like using the walk as a reason to be more awake. So when my friends do coffee runs, I'll just come along for the walk.
Yeah.
For then it's an afternoon break.
Yeah, I know we
Um,
do the same thing. I do think though as well, it's kind of interesting though that I feel like you do need to say like, oh, let's go for a coffee. Because if you just say let's go for a
Yeah.
walk, it's like, well, why? And it's like, well, because I need a break. And it's like, well, why do you need a break? Why do you need a walk? You know. Whereas if you're like, I'm going for coffee, people are like, yeah, sure. Do you want to go for a
Yeah, there's
smoke?
like
Yeah,
a goal
sure.
there.
You know, it's
Which
like
which
it's
kind of made me
this
want to go.
yeah,
Feeling like Wallace, you feeling like Neon? What about a little hail if you want to walk? Yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, it depends on, yeah, if you're going for a snack or something, that's different.
Yeah.
But
What are some
yeah,
things in your animation that you want to improve on? When you look at your work, is there something that you're like, I just wish that there was that thing that I could do better?
um, always body mechanics. I
Mm-hmm.
really, really want to practice body mechanics and workflows. Like my acting's okay. It's not great. With guidance, it's pretty good.
Okay.
But when it comes to actual like movement and actual like people pushing stuff, people lifting stuff, people like I haven't gotten to do that as much.
Yeah.
A lot of my student reel was acting stuff, and like I did some walks here and there, but it like that's why I actually tried to take the body mechanics and workflows course with iAnimate.
Yeah.
And I was really excited for it. Pardon me. And yeah, it just sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
That's cool.
But that was the one where I tried taking it, and then my quota was 3 times as high as I was told it was going to be.
Yeah.
So
And it was like,
I
whoops,
I
life
dropped the ball
happens.
and $2,000 for nothing.
Yeah.
And so it's something I've been really wanting to go back and do.
Yeah.
Has it like I with motion capture, you don't really get to do that as often, but
Mm.
also when I come home, I'm not super keen on animating as much
Yeah.
work, and I need a break from it. But so I really do want to practice that. I just need to find time.
And are there some things like about what you've learned over the last couple of years that you're like really proud of that you think you just like nail it now for animation? You're like that I'm really proud of how far I've come with that thing.
I think in general, I feel like I've improved, but at the same time, I also know I have so far to go. I'm very much of the opinion that I need to keep myself open to the fact that I can improve. So I tend to be more modest than I probably should be.
I think that's true for
Um,
a lot of artists.
yeah, but I think it puts me in a good mindset of being willing to learn, because I have seen people who let any sort of improvement or project they get put onto get to their head,
Mm.
and they stop. They just
They're like, I'm
completely stop.
done.
Yeah. And yeah, it's so important to keep yourself in a more, I want to say modest. I feel like humble. I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, keep like always know that you can do better.
Stay humble, stay hungry.
Yeah,
I like
yeah, that's
that
a good way
quote.
of putting it. Stay humble, stay hungry.
Yeah, I
Um,
like it because it kind of it gives you the sense of like
mhm.
be like underselling yourself just to the extent that you want to push yourself is what the way I see it. Like not you're here and you want to be here because then you just feel like terrible all the time, and not you're here but you actually think you're here because then you're not getting a real. But if you're like here and you're just like a little under, it's like okay, but I just need to be, you know, hungry.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's that striving for more. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, yeah. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was just saying like it's that desire to go further and be better and
Yeah. I think that's
be
something
a.
that's really cool that a lot of kind of artists and animators share, especially when you get to university and you're with like-minded people, and also when you get to work and you're with like-minded people. There's this real sense of community that develops from this kind of we all want to make something that we're proud of, you know. And
Yeah,
I think that's something that's really special. That's really
yeah,
nice that we all get to kind of experience that as a community, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like, again, all of the leads that I've had, all of the truly wonderful leads that I have had through my years of animating have all been the most soft-spoken and humble people.
Yeah.
Like, like willing, like very understanding and good at teaching, but they also like they they exude an air of just again, it's that soft-spoken mentality that just I love it. Like my first lead, well, I had two leads on Trollhunters, but Mike Chafe, who was nominated and won an Annie Award and an Emmy Award for his work on Trollhunters. He was so out of his comfort zone with those award shows. They were just so not what he wanted. He hates being the center of attention. He just
Yeah.
wants to work, and he just that was his thing. And like he's at DreamWorks now, and I'm really happy for him because he's so good. But yeah, it's I really feel like that just you're there to do work. They're not lording over you. They
Right.
know what you've gone through. That's what makes a good lead.
Yeah. That's really cool. Um, this wasn't on my list, but I just thought it would be kind of interesting to ask. Do you think you're kind of more of like a team player, or you work better on your own, or and also do you think you're more of like a follower or a leader?
For the second question, I can safely say follower. I don't know if I could ever pull off being the lead.
It's definitely a
Def-
different. It's weird, right? Because in this industry, it's one of those few things where it's like. You know you got to that position because you were a really good artist, but now you're doing less art than you ever have before, which I completely understand. It's you're doing it so that everyone has better art, not just you. But it's a weird dynamic where people that's technically the next step up, but a lot of people don't want to go that way because it means doing less of the thing they actually want to be doing. So it's kind of you get that branch, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, for team player, I feel like I am a team player, but I think that I'm also like a mix of there are times where I'm a hermit and there's times where I communicate with my team
Yeah.
because there are times where you need both of those. There are times where you need to be sitting down and focus and just doing your shot, and then there's times where you have to go and be like, "Hey, I need some help on this thing. Can you help me out?" Because the one thing that some animators forget, and like a lot of students, I don't think fully realize coming in, is that it is not a competition,
Yeah.
and it is a team project, and you have to be you have to help each other. Like that's the only way things are going to do well.
Yeah. Do you think there's like some habits that you've had to, like bad habits you've managed to break, or good habits that you've managed to develop in the last couple of years that have really helped you out?
Oh boy. I definitely still have a lot of bad habits. I need to check my email more often. Um, I good habits. I think I got into an okay workflow. It took some time to figure out what my workflow is,
Yeah.
and it also changes based on what program you use. Um, So like I didn't start using animation layers until I started using Motion Builder.
Right.
And with Motion Builder, I also have particular techniques that I have for cleanup, where it's like I focus on polishing hands before I do any sort of like hand placement adjustments so that I
Mm.
can get those things feeling right. And like that's so different from like trying to do blocking in Motion or in Maya, where
Mm.
I first was like, oh, let's try step. And then I went, no, I actually really don't like stepped animation. As pretty as it looks terrible when you spline it. And it's ever evolving
Yeah.
um, for getting into that workflow. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, I think so. Like
Okay.
roundabout. Do you
Okay.
think this was another question that I found that I thought was really interesting, or that I kind of made up. So the question is, what is your superpower? So to define that, okay, not like, oh, I'd like to be able to fly. Like no, like I'm talking about what is something that you think you do or you have, like a really good ability to focus, or your, I don't know, whatever it is. What is something you do that is at a heightened sense compared to most other people you know, do you think? In like a
I'm
not
am
boastful way, just in a, for me, this is something that I'm superhuman at.
I'm amazingly mediocre. I don't
No,
know. It's
that's not
really
an
hard because
option.
like I'm really good at not taking
Modesty.
praise very well.
Okay.
I no like I
Superhuman modesty, sure.
so my superpower is probably like I take critique really well, in my opinion.
Okay.
Um, because it's something that I know, oh, what's the word? It's something where I know that if I listen to it, it will make me improve, or it gives me drive to improve.
Mm.
And I think that's the one thing where I feel like I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
I've seen people not handle critique well, and I've been frustrated at things, but I'm also learning, like, I have to kind of roll with the punches at times. Like sometimes you feel like um I don't know, just you kind of just have to take the hits and just go and use them to your advantage. It's really all you can do.
Yeah.
So I feel like since I was young, I have been really lucky to be able to take critique and use it as drive.
That is a
Um,
really interesting one to say, because I think that is something that's really very important. Because as animators, we get critiqued all day, every day, by everyone. It's
oh
just a
yeah,
fact of life. Because to get animation right takes usually more than one person. I feel like to get it at its best, you need
yeah.
that collaboration of other people's ideas to really push it. So I think that is something that's really important that people underestimate. So it's really interesting to me that you said that.
Well,
What? Sorry.
sorry, I was just gonna say I have a story from when I
Yeah.
first really started acting that way, and it was like when I was 12 and I was getting those how to draw manga books,
Yeah.
and I was like drawing like Legolas, like
Everyone
I
starts with
had my
manga.
Orlando Bloom crush when I was 12, and I was drawing like a picture of Legolas in class, and there was this kid who was a year above me in the gifted cluster, and he was like, what is that supposed to be?" And I'm like, "It's Legolas, obviously. Like, can't you tell?" No. So of course I have to. He goes, "Oh, if I really squint, like it looks like him." And I go, "Really?" And I stop and I go, "Josh, your eyes are closed." He said, "Exactly." And so I was like, "Bitch, I'm gonna draw you the best Legolas." And I that's where it's like
Like I'm,
I
I'm gonna
take
prove you wrong.
my frustration and I turn it into drive. And so like there are times where yes, I absolutely get frustrated about critiques or sudden changes or retakes. Like you can absolutely be stressed about them, but
Yep.
then you also have to take that and kind of channel it into
Yeah.
like just a force to
Be
get
reckoned with.
continue and yeah.
I love it. So you're the sort of person that if someone would tell you you can't do something, you're like, okay, well now I 100% have to do it.
Yeah, kind of
Okay.
sort of not super amounts. I really need to get better at lots of things, but yeah, the I it's one of the reasons I thrive off critique. I'm some sort of masochist.
I think we all are. We're all doing animation. I mean, phew.
Yeah.
Even just artists in general all have that.
Hmm.
What's some like advice or some like lessons or what would you say to a younger version of yourself?
Go to
Can be any
college.
age. Go to college.
Go to Sheridan. I would absolutely be like, don't like go to Sheridan. Go to somewhere where you are not considered a good artist.
Hmm.
Because again, like when I was thrown onto Trollhunters, I was suddenly the worst animator in the room, and I found that exhilarating.
Wow.
Um, it was this terrifying feeling because I may have been the only junior on that
Yeah.
production in Toronto, but
Yeah.
and it's you need to put juniors places, and so it was seeing all these people that were like leagues beyond me on a very challenging show was like holy crap,
Yeah.
and it's like you felt you needed to do your best.
Yeah.
So
There's a quote that I like that says something like, if 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 you're smarter than all your friends, you need better friends. Which sounds
yeah.
terrible, but it's kind of that weird like if you're the sum of the five people that you spend the most time with, you
Hmm.
should probably pick those five people very carefully. And I 100% agree that if you're around people that are kind of pushing it and doing really well, then you are inspired to get up to that level way more than if you were thinking you're amazing because you're at the top of your class sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed being the strongest. Like, and I feel like I'm really lucky, but I would have loved to have gone to Seneca with some of the people that I met, and I
Yeah.
feel like I don't know if I would have ended up like there's so many things. It's like, do I wish I'd gone to a different school because then I wouldn't have gotten to probably work on Troll Hunters, but
Yeah.
like I probably would have maybe worked on Troll Hunters. Like there's so many what ifs, and so you can't really dwell on those,
Yeah.
but.
So would
I
you
feel
say anything, or would you not want to
I still
chance it?
think I would have picked a different
You've been
school,
like,
but
hey. Hey, young Sedona,
I feel like I would have
don't do
been
it.
in a better position when ARC closed if I'd gotten into the industry earlier.
Mm.
And yeah, there's so many things I could have gotten to do that would have been less of a hassle. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I am where I am because of my choices, and that's not. I feel like I'm doing okay.
And do you have some like advice for younger people in the industry or who haven't broken into the industry yet? Do you have some like advice for them? Good ways to get
Yeah,
in.
good ways to get in. Network, definitely network.
Network.
Like no, seriously, if you can find any social events where you can like meet people and befriend them. Like for me, I go to a game dev social night once a month in Toronto called Torontaru, and I meet a lot of students there and I hang out with a lot of professionals there of like varying backgrounds and skills, and I just shoot the shit with them. And I go like the networking events where it's like you go to a conference and you go there and you meet people, like that definitely I feel helps me bolster a bit of confidence. Um, don't be scared of your lead, but also like I still go through that. Like I'm very intimidated by my leads and I don't know why. But again, they're really sweet, wonderful people, and I have a fear of disappointing them, and
Oh,
maybe I thrive off of that fear. I don't know, but yeah, yeah. Don't let your experiences get to your head because there's always going to be someone better than you,
yeah,
and just keep striving for better. Don't like don't do anything like don't walk all over your peers you consider beneath you because they may be able to help you later on too. So much of like what I've experienced in the past 3 years is like friends helping friends find work.
yeah,
um and just it's like, and so if you help someone they may help you later on.
yeah.
Because again, this is a small industry and it's a really connected industry, and I've seen people like where I've seen people help other people. I've also seen people who have been shitty to other people get blacklisted.
Mm. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, and practice and yeah, take criticism well. Learn to take it well because I know it's a really hard thing to do. So
Awesome. Well, it's 5 o'clock. So
yeah, it is. Holy crap!
I just want to really quick say thank you so much for doing the interview. I
No,
thought I
thanks for
learned a
having me.
lot, so I thought it was awesome. So we're
I'm
just
back.
gonna see if we got any questions. So first one was when you transitioned from education to going into the industry, what did you find most challenging or a shock to you? Have you got any preparation tips for current students?
Preparation tips for current students. Focus primarily. So going from college to a new job. My first experience was I got thrown into overtime, and they were like, "Oh, why aren't you upset about being on 60-hour work weeks? Like, even though you're fresh out of the industry." I was like, "I have weekends." Like, I was working so much in college, and it's because you've got a bunch of teachers not communicating with each other, and they're all like, "Oh, this should only take you like 4 hours
Yeah.
times 6 teachers." So it comes to bite you in the ass eventually. So for me, what I ended up having to do is prioritize what I wanted on my reel. So for me, where I was trying to see if modeling and rigging and stuff for lighting was my jam, and like definitely not a lighting artist or like VFX artist.
Mm.
And while I really enjoyed modeling and rigging, they did not love me back. So I was like, okay, fuck it, animation it is, because that's the only thing that hasn't blown up in my face, and that's what I focused on throughout the entire year. Was just I need an animation reel, I need an animation reel, and that's what I would skip classes to work on stuff for my animation reel just to get to where I needed to be. Um, so yeah, that was my first big thing was in order to get into the industry, I probably wouldn't have made it if I hadn't prioritized what I wanted to do, which was realizing that animation was choosing me. Um, I hope that answered the question, but that's at least my big preparation tip is like you're paying money, but understand that you need to prioritize what you need
Yeah.
to, because if you're going in, you can if you are good at everything, then totally go as a 3D generalist. But if you want to specialize in animation or modeling, focus on animation or modeling.
Yeah.
Like try
figure
not to
out
do
what it
both.
is that you need and what is
Yes.
important and focus on
Yeah.
those things.
And tell your teachers, be like, I need to focus on this for my reel. This is what I want to do. And hopefully they can help you.
Yeah. And rely on the teachers because hopefully they know what they're talking about. You'd
Yeah,
hope.
hopefully. Hopefully.
What are some places though that you could go for feedback otherwise? Like if let's say you don't have the best teachers but you still want to improve, like where, or even if you just, are doing stuff, where would
Well,
you go?
I guess the AniMates forum is a really good place on Discord because there is a critique subreddit. Um, if you, yeah, focus on your animation reel if you can. But yeah, wherever you know you can trust someone to critique you, do it.
Yeah, not just a
And
friend.
there's Reddit, there's classmates if they can see stuff that you can't, because if you watch an animation long enough, you're not going to see the problems with it.
Yeah, go for a walk.
Yeah. And yeah, hopefully your teachers are trustworthy enough if they're grading you that they should be.
Yeah, but
Good.
the
But
nice
yeah,
thing about
connect with
animation is I feel like anyone could give you feedback on it. It's like even if they don't know anything about animation, they'll at least be able to be like something isn't right, and it's like okay, well it's not very helpful, but at least I know that it doesn't look right. And then the
Mm-hmm.
more they know about animation, the more specific they can be. But
Yeah.
there's still like animation's one of those things that because everyone knows how humans move and how animals move, even the person that knows nothing will still be like about animation will still be able to point out it looks weird. I don't know why, but it just doesn't look right. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think it's always really good when you can get feedback from just like friends as well, isn't it? Because your teacher's gonna know a lot, but your peers are all gonna hopefully be in it with you. So, if you can help each other out, get your shots look really cool. I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you should get used to asking and giving
Yeah.
critique because
Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask questions ever.
yeah, you do that a lot in the industry, so it's not something to be shied away from. But yeah, that's cool. So also, how are you finding the games industry compared to TV as far as the work is concerned?
Uh, it's a very different type of work. And again, I do feel like I'm in somewhat of an outlier. Because Ubisoft really doesn't like doing overtime, whereas other studios like Rockstar absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So workload wise, it's really hard to say, but when it comes to actual work, it's a very different type of work, but not necessarily like it's definitely not everyone's cup of tea.
Mm.
Because there sometimes they're cinematic, sometimes it's just getting gameplay animation to blend together, which means making sure that the animation looks good, entering and exiting every possible state you could possibly imagine.
Mm.
And so it's so different, but not necessarily worse. Though I do know I know people who just they don't like it. They don't like this style of animation. They love just doing movie stuff and keyframe stuff. Um, but like Ubisoft offered stability, which is why they're there. It's
Oh, I think you're breaking up.
like a really good friend of mine who worked on Trollhunters.
Oh,
Sorry,
oh.
am I better? Maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh, no.
Oh,
Hello?
hello.
Ah, I think you're back.
Okay. Sorry. Where did I cut off?
Uh, somewhere Ubisoft offered stability.
Yeah, Ubisoft was a stable position where like whereas like it may not have necessarily the most I don't know how to put it. Like I guess my best example is my friend Che, who I worked on Trollhunters with, really wanted to go to Ubisoft. That was her dream job. And she worked on games in Korea, and then she worked on Trollhunters, and then when Arc went under, she went to Ubisoft. And 3 months into her position there, she left to go work on Next Gen because she really missed keyframe animating.
Mm.
It was what she wanted to do. Whereas for me, I'm actually like, this is actually kind of cool. I like this animation. It's
Mm.
not too bad. Also putting on the mocap suit's fun.
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah, so there's definitely like it's a preferential thing. Some people really like the acting. Some people really like the fighting sequences. Some people like Che's big thing was Che was really good at like very touching emotional moments. And so they have her on crying scenes and like little intimate like romantic-y moments. Like if you guys watch Trollhunters in the first few episodes and you see like a cute moment between like Jim and Claire, either like auditioning for Romeo and Juliet or in the museum talking to each other, like that's Che, and she's just really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do find though that the animators, I feel like every animator I know has that thing that they really like doing, and they end up really good at it because that's like what they end up practicing a lot at
Yeah.
home, and that they end up getting really good at. And I think we were having a talk about this in the pub one time back in CA, and it was like we were like just going around and saying like, oh, what are you the animator of? Which, you know, everyone animates a bit of everything, but
The thing you like.
yeah, and you know that we were like, oh, you know, you're just like so quick and you're just so efficient, and this other person was like, oh, you're just like the animal person, and the other person was, oh, you just have this very like fluid, elegant movement style. And the funny thing was, it was also the way people animate is so reminiscent of what their personalities are like,
Yeah.
you know.
I don't know what my personality is like.
No, but it is like you can see the animator shine through the
Mhm.
performance as to what kind of timing they prefer, what kind of spacing they prefer, what kind of emotional choices they make. It's based
Yeah.
off of that person, so you'll get one person who will do these like quicker, snappier movements, and you'll find that they are a quicker, snappier person, and then you'll do like, you know, someone else will do these kind of more graceful things, and they're, you know, a more graceful person. You do get that kind of comfort zones, I think, which is, I think it's
Yeah.
really cool. You get that accent
Yeah.
on stuff, but
I feel like mine's the very clumsy good enough animation.
well, I think that's your too modest superpower coming in, which
Do the thing, just get it out. That's been the 3 years for me.
yeah. Well, it's been amazing talking to you. Thank you so much for being on the first show of Off Tangent. We're going to be here live every Sunday. Next week, we're going to be back to an anime show where there's going to be a bunch of us discussing an animation topic. You should go follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and I think there's links below. Yeah, there are links below, and we're working on getting a website put together, so that should be really awesome. And I think that was everything. Oh, and the Discord. Go join the Discord because that's
Yes.
just
Join the Discord.
exploding with loads of cool talent. And if you can share, I'm going to put this up on YouTube, and if you can share it around, because the more people that watch, the more we can kind of do with it. So
Yes. This is our weekend, so this is our new mascot.
that is fine by me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been
It was-
awesome. So
Yeah, it's been fun.
yeah, so we need like a sign out thing. I don't have one yet.
Too. Yeah. Well, we'll come up with something.
Yeah, and from
The
Sleepy
other
Cat,
guys.
good
Yeah.
night.
Good night.
Yeah, bye guys.
Bye.
See you next week.